Hi, I'm Peter Haddock and I'm here with Nick Hughes of Ford Civil Engineering. Nicholas, we've just been having a big chat about AGTEK here. You are the first user in the UK 7 years ago.
We were,
Really adopting technology at a very, very early stage. You've now progressed in that 7 years using the AGTEK system for your business. How has it gone and what's the difference that it's made to the business that you run?
Yeah, it's been excellent. At the time, we were relatively small as a company, trading around 18 million a year, residential groundworks. It became fairly obvious that the industry was fairly backwards with technology. I was very keen on trying to progress forwards. It seemed like a lot of it could be automated. A lot of what we did was being done manually, very time consuming, and one of the biggest constraints, biggest losses we were making was via tendering. So tendering uses an awful lot of money, a lot of resources in the office. It could be spent doing other things, and that means either hiring more staff just to sit in front of drawings to measure them, or finding technology and a way of making things more accurate and also a lot more efficient. So we identified the two biggest areas we had risk on was muck away, which is extremely hard to calculate by hand, involves grids, and it's extremely time consuming. That loses a lot of money via staff time. And then the risk, if you get it wrong, is obviously enormous. You're talking £200 a load of muck away and quite often 10, 20,000 metres cubed on site. So I started looking around at products. There were a few mud shark because we're probably started in the UK. I don't know if that's still available. But then I discovered AGTEK, looked at the demos, got in touch with Bill, and then he sort of showed me the original demonstration, had a look at some of our drawings, and it was just streets ahead of anything that was available. The speed, the technology behind it really has speeded up the whole process and has made an enormous saving in the time and efficiency that we put into tenders. So it takes time off of surveyors so they can go out and do the more important site-based work instead of just measuring and remeasuring drawings. And we also have far, far lower risk now, muck away. That's an area we have less concern on. You know, when we start on sites, that was always one of the biggest risks, especially on very steep sites, very complicated sites. That was one of the areas we'd always have a risk of being caught short on. But now we've expanded significantly since then. We're now trading about 36 million, so sort of, double the size. But our surveying department's only sort of one person higher. So, it shows that the technology, whilst not replacing people, certainly means that fewer people can do the same job, without having to utilise an awful lot of man hours to get the same result.
And you talked about tenders there, because nobody makes any money without winning work, do they?
No.
And the first element for you there and the journey, how has that helped you win work, and how has it helped you, I guess, to put more tenders in to grow the business as you have?
There's a kind of there's two prongs to that. So the first is that you can do more tenders. Also, the more tenders you can pump out, the more opportunities you're going to get. Secondly, it's just the impression you give to the client. There's nothing better than being invited to a meeting. If I can take something like AGTEK, put it on a laptop, sit there on a large screen TV, demonstrate a 3D model of the site that looks exactly as the site will be, any discrepancies they have with other tenders on quantities and accuracies quickly gets put to bed. It shows level of professionalism, care and detail, which is what we really want from our company. We don't want to just be putting out very basic, front sheet tenders, just a few headline figures. We want to make sure people are comfortable in what we do. We want to be an open book, and they can see what we're doing. They know exactly what we've measured, exactly how we've measured it, and how accurate it is. And then they have complete confidence in our ability to do the job from there on. And we have confidence in our own measures that we can carry that forward throughout the job, know that we've got the right quantities, the right money, the right time invested for every part of the job. And then we know we have a successful job going forward.
And also, I think what's interesting about that is you've then got the model before you get onto site that can transfer into sort of 3D machine control, and you can do some value engineering as well to look at how you're removing materials around the site rather than removing them from the site as well, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. You can demonstrate where materials can go, what impact it will have on the site. You can do a 3D representation. So I've just literally this week just sent across a tender where the plan was to try and do spoil on site, but the quantities are probably bigger than the developer truly understands, not understands, but maybe visualises. And just being able to draw a stockpile very, very quickly on part of the site and demonstrate that the two stockpiles required for topsoil and subsoil would cover, circa 25% of the overall site area, starts indicating just the logistical challenges of such a project.
Yeah.
So it's not that it can't be done, it's just indicating that it's not an easy, as it probably sounds on face value, but we can demonstrate what impact bunds will make, what they'll look like, we can change swale sizes, ditch sizes, everything like that can be very, very quickly volumized, very quickly demonstrated as what improvement it's going to make and what value engineering we can do.
And so when you look at having that information, you've also got the ability to look at how you match your fleet and your equipment to deliver it as well, don't you? So making those choices on your fleet, have some of your fleet choices changed, the size of excavators and the way you do things?
Yeah, natural progression from any of the quantifying is efficiency.
Yep.
So whilst not directly via AGTEK, it does allow us to look at how quickly we can move material and what's the quantities are going to be moved. And then we have noticed a tendency now, and this is partly due to our own growth to bigger sites, that we now predominantly buy 9-ton dumpers instead of 6-ton, which would have been the go-to before. 14-ton excavators are largely been upgraded to 20-ton. We just bought a first 36-ton.
Wow.
And you can look at the efficiency of bucket size, the quantity of a dumper, the time it takes to move from one area to another site, how much fuel that's using, man hours. So to move the same amount of material with one 20-ton excavator and 3 6-ton dumpers compared to the same machine with 2 9-tons is very, very different in overall cost. It can be up to 30-40% different, which is staggering for something that would be viewed as simple.
Yeah, and also, you're looking at that as well, that there's a singular operator doing more of the work. So, that cost comparison, but also allows you to bring in other technologies, allows you to change things like, look at tilt rotators or other things like that on the job site in the future as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, so that took a few years, but we just last 2 years ago, we've invested in the grade control for all the excavators. So we now have 7 of those, just going up to 8. And it's taken a little bit of time to integrate. It's upskilling guys on site, but it is working extremely effectively. And again, it's efficiencies. Whereas before you'd have a foundation trench, a man stood there with a laser level, constantly dipping, adjusting, form a step, cut the next section. Now the guys can sit in the machine. That man who's on the laser before is now, first of all, safe. There's always a risk whenever you're near an excavation or cut or machine, so they can be off doing some other productive work, and the excavator can now just cut that. There's no stopping to form steps, no stopping to change levels, no stopping to dip, and there's absolutely no risk of anyone being near the edge of an excavation, possibly being at risk.
The other thing is you're just here with a group, with a community now, an AGTEK community of users in the UK and Ireland as such, but you're here to learn the latest things that the technology's going to be offering, and also a little bit of a look into the future. Obviously 7 years ago it was a very different system. What are you excited about today and the things that you're seeing, and obviously the gradual addition of lots of different things over the period of time you've used it?
Yeah, the nice thing about AGTEK, unlike an awful lot of products that you buy, most products tend to be just an off-the-shelf solution. It does what it says on the tin, that's what it does forever. You might get occasional updates that sort out a few glitches and bugs. The nice thing, even with a company the size of AGTEK, which is very large in America, if not here, from the moment I approached Bill, they have always listened to concerns, even when we were literally the only company. So issues we had with meters to feet, scaling, little things that they'd never really come across because they never had to particularly deal with metrics, have always been updated, and you can literally see your own suggestions being implemented.
Wow.
Even from things to like phase region adjustments, cutting pipes, which was something we run into a problem with a year ago. That's now been implemented in the latest updates. So AGTEK has consistently improved. It's improved for the better. It's not just improvements for the sake of adding more stuff. It's stuff that genuinely makes a difference to what you do. And most of what I had written down today as suggestions, they're already planning. So we've already got the foundation modules being planned. AI seems a logical step forward. There's an awful lot of what we have to do manually that can be done by a machine. Again, everything that leverages technology versus manual labour is a cost saving and efficiency to the business. So it looks like some really good products coming through. And from a health and safety point of view, the idea of being able to model underground utilities, if we can have all the services at the correct depth modelled across site that someone can look at on a phone via augmented reality, that's a huge, huge win as far as health and safety goes. Really just adds a whole nother layer of protection to the men.
So as you've grown, the system's grown with you. You've been able to change the way the business works, and you're here today. Another pioneering moment to see what's going on, and a real advocate for the technology. I mean, I haven't even had to prompt you with anything of the areas that I would like to learn about today in this interview, because you've just lived it and breathed it for 7 years, and it's great to see. And what I'd like to do is come on site and see you and your team in action.
Yeah, absolutely. Bit of a drive. We're down the south coast.
Don't worry about that. We'll come and see it.
Going to Dorset, we've got plenty going on.
And it's great to really see somebody that is a pioneer, that is making suggestions and being listened to, by a business, and that's helped your business immensely. Great to meet you today. Thanks
Lovely
for your time.
to meet you. Thank you.